NCIS has been on air for 15 whole seasons, which is a lot of great television. When their run has been so glorious, how can you choose just one favorite episode? It's a good thing we don't have to choose. With 200 plus episodes, we asked the cast of NCIS to share some of their favorite episodes and scenes. Here's how it went. Pauley Perrette, Season 3, Bloodbath. One of her favorites, but also one of the most difficult episodes for her to do, as it showed Abby being stalked by some maniac. Pauley has been stalked in real life, so naturally she was a little concerned about how that might affect her, because it was like bringing her personal life on screen. According to her, writers often add the cast's personal experiences into the screenplay, and while she was terrified at first, reliving that scary moment in her life through the show proved to be cathartic for her. Season 8, One Last Score. So this is Pauley's second favorite episode because Michael Weatherly was directing, and his character was in a scene in the squad room talking to her. Whenever Pauley would do her part, Michael Weatherly would smile instead of saying his lines because he was blown away with her performance. What more validation would someone want? Cody DePablo, Season 3, Undercovers. This episode was the first time Michael and Pablo had this sexual tension thing fulfilled. Tension that could be cut with a knife. As much as it was exciting for her, there was also something the fans could cling to as a sort of Mr. and Mrs. Smith's episode that was enjoyable to perform for the duo. Admit it, we're all suckers for these kinds of things. Season 3, Kill Ari. Another fan favorite season is high on Pablo's list. In this episode, a Mossad butt kicker played by Ziva David takes over as Todd's replacement, kicking in an 8th season will they won't they relationship with Tony. Season 10, Extreme Prejudice. After a bombing destroys headquarters, locking Ziva and Tony in the elevator, love and dust is in the air, alone, for several hours. Episodes that had Ziva just had to be steamy, but we're not complaining, and neither is she because all of her favorites are such episodes too. Season 9, Devil's Triangle. Another one of Cody's favorites is when the ex-wife of Fornell and Gibbs reappeared, and the last thing she said was, "Well, you were my Shannon, Gibbs," referring to Gibbs's real love. She recalls reading it at the table and just feeling this huge wave of emotion because of what that line signified. Powerful stuff. Sean Murray, Season 2, Bikini Wax. In this episode, Harmon and Murray were on the lookout for someone, and the suspect vanished near a car wash. McGee, of course, runs through the car wash, and so did Murray. It was a little difficult to get their act together when covered in soaps and suds, but he recalls it as the most fun experience on the show. Season 2, Call of Silence. Charles Durning, an Oscar contender, plays a World War II veteran who thinks he murdered a companion in battle 60 years ago. Murray calls it his favorite episode because it was such a delight to watch Charles on screen, as well as getting to know him off-screen. Season 3, Kill Ari. These two episodes took place shortly after Kate's death and are two of Sean Murray's personal favorites. Something about those episodes resonates with him, just in terms of the tone, where almost everything was dark and rainy, and everyone was dealing with the aftermath of one of their fellow agents being slain. Michael Weatherly, Season 1, Dead Man Talking. Begin with a dismembered body. Agents Caitlin Kate Todd and Tony DiNozzo engage in sexual banter, make a scene with boss Gibbs, make sure Abby, the forensic scientist, waves her pigtail. Topping it off, Tony taunts rookie McGee in a stakeout. Voila! You've got the recipe for a perfect episode on NCIS. According to Michael, this was their 19th episode, and it all starts when Pocky, one of their squad room's special agents, is killed in an elevator and they arrive at the crime scene to find his entrails exposed. It's a grim episode in which Weatherly is undercover in one act, chasing down a transvestite in another. In some weird twist of events, he ends up making out in a pub with her and killing her off in the next scene. While he calls it the worst episode yet because of those twists and turns, it's also his favorite. Season 5, Chimera. This was NCIS 100th episode on Halloween in 2007. Michael recalls they were aboard a ship where everyone had died of some freak illness. Things get real nasty in the episode. In one particular scene, Ducky's outfit is smeared with toxic blood, and Michael is clutching a dead rat, but neither of them contract the disease despite being totally exposed. Maybe it's the inconsistency, maybe the craziness of it all, but this episode makes up for his top favorite in terms of acting. David McCallum, Season 1, My Other Left Foot. Ducky performs an autopsy on a severed leg discovered by dumpster divers, kicking off the show's grim humor. There's a moment in this episode where Ducky carries this leg around the room from end to end, talking about his grandfather who allowed him to travel over Europe and see art galleries. By the way, the scene has nothing to do with the leg itself. Then, he spends a lot of time talking about the film My Left Foot. Ducky, that's a right foot, Gibbs finally says after what seems like an unending lecture from McCallum. For the actor, it was that moment, that joke in the middle of the scene, that that sealed the style for the duo and remained ingrained in his mind as his top moments on the show. Brian Dietzen, Season 5, Requiem. That's right, it's the one in which Mark and Michael spend a lot of time underwater, in a water tank and in a car. Brian just got to sit back and enjoy the show because he wasn't in it, but as a huge fan of Gibbs' backstory, he spent the day listening in with bated breath to hear where this dude came from. Season 6, Last Man Standing. Another episode that has been Dietzen's favorite, was one of the first times they threw a bunch of things at Jimmy Palmer. In the autopsy, Gibbs and Vance confront Jimmy Palmer about having an affair with Agent Lee, who turns out to be a double agent. To have both Rocky Carroll and Mark Harmon looking at you, we're sure Dietzen didn't have to act too hard to look nervous and scared. Season 14, Keep Going. In this powerful episode, Jimmy Palmer, a sweet assistant medical examiner, puts his life and all 4 limbs on the line to prevent a young man from committing suicide. The episode is nearly entirely set on a cliff, but it is just as thrilling as car chases on NCIS. For the actor, the story was all about persevering in the face of hardship. We can imagine it was also a lot of fun to shoot, too. Rocky Carroll, Season 5, Internal Affairs. The first episode Carroll ever appeared in is his top favorite, and we can see why. Mark Harmon and Rocky Carroll had worked together on Chicago Hope for several years, and he was the only person Rocky knew who was linked to NCIS, so he had an advantage in the nerves department, as well as learning from the best. Carroll believes Harmon paved the way for him a little and let everyone know, quote, "This guy's fine with me," unquote. It pays to know the right people. Season 6, Knockout. In this episode, director Vance is forced to relive his past after a friend is murdered. It's bad for him, but it was great for the fans who wanted to know more about him. Fans were hoping for a Vance-centered story, and they got one. This was the first time the show had explored his character, but Carroll was also going through a tough time in his personal life while his mother was hospitalized. Despite that, he gave this episode his all, and in turn, it became his favorite as well as all of ours. Gary Glassberg, Season 6, Heartland. Since Gary Glassberg first appeared on the show, he was very familiar with everything because he was such a huge fan of NCIS. In this particular episode, he gets to meet Gibbs' father, Ralph Waite, and spend time with him in his birthplace, which is what made this a very memorable episode for him. Living his fanboy dreams, this guy. Season 8, A Man Walks Into a Bar. This is an episode that is loved by all characters who played a role in it. The episode begins with Tony, McGee, Gibbs, and Ziva reflecting about their early days in psychological assessments. The episode has a lot of flashbacks. You know the way Friends would do a throwback episode and make us all nostalgic? Yeah, that. The episode also includes a previously unaired conversation between Kate and Tony before her death that was rescued from the cutting room floor. Season 9, Until Death Do Us Part. This episode is also one of the cast's top favorites. To stop wicked Harper Deering from killing NCIS operatives, Gibbs sort of befriends nemesis Jonathan Cole. The episode ends on a cliffhanger that makes you glad binge watching is a thing because we could not have waited to see what happened next. That's a wrap for this video. Which one of these episodes are your favorites? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.